This is Aska Tanveer with Kashmir Panorama. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir has been widely condemned as a propaganda exercise aimed at misleading the international community about the dire ground realities in the territory. According to Kashmir Media Service, the visit is seen as an attempt to project a facade of normalcy and development while concealing India's grave human rights violations and oppressive policies in the disputed territory. Far from addressing the legitimate aspirations of the Kashmiri people, Modi's visit has only intensified their hardships, with heightened restrictions, increased friskings, searches, arrests, and a heavy security clampdown. The tour has reinforced the perception that India is more focused on consolidating its occupation than ensuring real peace and development throughout the guidelines set by the United Nations in number of its resolutions on Kashmir. Critics argue that the visit serves the anti-Kashmir agenda of the RSS-backed regime, which has broken all records of brutality and is hell-bent on changing the region's demography to further its expansionist goals. Also, the so-called infrastructure project in Kashmir are being widely condemned as blatant violations of international laws and human rights charters. These projects, implemented without consulting local communities, have raised serious concerns of coercion and marginalization, further isolating the territory's already oppressed population. The infrastructure developments such as the Z-Mor Tunnel, set to be inaugurated by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, are viewed as military-centric initiatives designed to enhance the mobility of Indian armed forces rather than addressing the territory's real developmental needs. Human rights organizations have criticized the lack of transparency, accountability, and community involvement, which not only breaches democratic governance principles but also contravenes United Nations mandates to safeguard the rights and livelihoods of indigenous populations in disputed territories. Locals see these projects as part of a larger strategy to materialize and militarize and oppress, serving India's strategic interest rather than benefiting the people of Kashmir. Moreover, authorities in Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir have further intensified restrictions ahead of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi visit on Monday, sparking anger and frustration among the territory's besieged population. According to Kashmir Media Service, the visit, widely seen as a propaganda exercise, has been criticized as a cruel mockery of the Kashmiri people's aspiration for freedom and justice. The Special Protection Group has been deployed at key locations including the Z-Mor Tunnel and other strategic segments. Police officials stated that additional checkpoints have been established and surveillance has been significantly increased, especially in central Kashmir. A coordinated security grid involving police, paramilitary forces, and the Indian Army is in place. These measures will remain effective until January 13th, a senior police official confirmed. The intensified restrictions include the development and deployment of extra personnel, the installation of CCTV cameras, drone monitoring, and the establishment of frisking points. These measures have severely restricted the free movement of locals, adding to their daily hardships. Officials have also suspended traffic on the Kargil-Srinagar highway and the Zujla Pass. The Kashmir administration has instructed 14 administrative secretaries to remain stationed at the civil secretariat in Srinagar until January 13th to ensure smooth coordination for the visit. These developments, however, have raised concern among residents who view the stringent restriction as an extension of the suppressive measures in the region under the guise of security. Modi's visit is being portrayed by the Indian government as a step towards development in Kashmir. However, critics argue that it is a blatant attempt to legitimize India's illegal occupation of the territory and obscure the harsh realities faced by the Kashmiri people. This visit is a cruel joke with the struggling Kashmiri people who continue to endure repression under India's military stranglehold. Local residents and political observers have condemned Modi as the architect of brutal military operations in Kashmir, holding him responsible for deepening the Kashmiris' sufferings. Kashmiris view his visit as yet another episode in India's campaign of deceit and oppression. It is not about peace or development, but about projecting a false image of normalcy to the world. The visit comes at a time when the territory remains one of the most militarized zones in the world, with Indian forces maintaining a suffocating presence. Critics argue that Modi's so called development agenda is a facade meant to divert international attention from human rights abuses and the denial of Kashmiri's right to self determination. The people of Kashmir are not against peace or development, but true peace and progress can only be achieved by ending the military occupation and honoring Kashmiri's right to a UN supervised plebiscite. Human rights activists have also noted the paradox of India's claim about development while the territory suffers under communication blackouts, arbitrary detentions, and systematic suppression of dissent. How can peace and development thrive in a land that has been turned into an open air prison? As Modi prepares for his visit, the Kashmiri people continue to demand a just resolution to the dispute, a resolution that recognizes their fundamental rights and aspirations. For them, development projects under military control mean little when their freedom and dignity remain suppressed. As international observers keenly watching Modi's visit, the question remains, can propaganda tour obscure the reality of Kashmir's plight, or will the truth ultimately prevail?